tribute or trial. The classroom was a dim stone-walled chamber, its air thick with the scent of ancient parchment and damp moss. Sunlight barely crept through the narrow slits of windows high above, casting long slanted beams across the rows of wooden benches. Cale's breath caught in his throat, a quiet hitch that went unnoticed by his classmates. The stories were as familiar as the cobblestones in Vyrn Square, tales of dragons and their demands. A village frozen in time, by magic no one could explain. In Vyrn, no one aged, no wrinkles ever marred a face, and children like Cale remained children forever. But immortality was a fragile gift. Without the golden elixir, accidents, illness, or rare, whispered acts of violence could still claim a life. The elixir guarded by the 5 dragons was their salvation.
Pay attention, Cale,
she snapped, her sharp eyes locking onto him, like a hawk spotting prey. The room stirred with muffled snickers from the other children, and Cale's cheeks flushed as he sat up straighter.
This isn't just lore.
Cale, a wiry boy of 13 with unruly black hair, sat near the back, his fingers tracing the worn grooves of his desk, etched deep by generations of fidgeting hands.
Tomorrow marks the bicentennial. The dragons will come.
Cale's gaze flicked to Lila, seated 2 rows over, her braid swinging as she leaned forward, drinking in Mara's words like they were honey. Lila loved the tales of heroes who braved the caves and returned with vials of shimmering gold, her green eyes bright with dreams of glory. Cale wasn't so sure. Those heroes always seemed reckless to him, driven by desperation or some foolish need to prove themselves.
The dragons demand tribute,
she continued, turning a page with a slow, deliberate motion, her voice dropping to a near whisper.
Gold, livestock, treasures from the village's vaults. But if one among us is brave enough, they may face the 5 trials in the dragon's lair.
His dark eyes darted between the open book before him and Elder Mara, whose presence seemed to fill the room like a gathering storm.
Only then can they claim the elixir without cost. Only then can they secure life for us all.
Cale's fingers tightened around his quill, the feather bending under his grip. He'd seen the tribute stores, dusty barrels of grain, crates of polished stones, relics whose purposes were long forgotten. But the whispers had grown louder in recent weeks. The stores were nearly empty. If the village couldn't offer enough, what then? Cale shivered, pushing the thought away as if it were a shadow creeping too close. Mara's voice droned on, listing the names of the 5 dragons, each one heavier than the last.
Zithar, the Flame Sovereign, Lyrian, the Mistweaver, Korra, the Stonebreaker, Vera, the Sky Shatterer, and Zillion, the Shadowfang. The
names sank into Cale's chest like stones, each one conjuring images of claws and fire and eyes that could pierce a soul.
200 years.
His mind wandered to the cliffs beyond Vyrn, where the Emberfall caves waited, their jagged mouths cloaked in mist. No one had ventured there in his lifetime. The last hero, Alara, had faced the trials 200 years ago, her elixir still sustaining the village. But the vials were running dry. Cale had overheard his parents' hushed voices by the fire, their faces pale as they spoke of the dwindling supply. The bronze bell outside clanged, its deep toll echoing through the stone walls, signaling the end of the lesson. Cale shoved his book into his satchel, ignoring Lila's excited chatter about the dragons' names as the other children poured into the courtyard. He lingered, his eyes drawn to a faded mural on the classroom wall. It showed a lone figure facing 5 towering dragons, their eyes glowing like embers, the figure holding a vial aloft, its golden light spilling over the scene. Kale's stomach twisted. Was that courage or just madness?
Kale!
She called from the doorway, hands on her hips, her voice sharp with impatience.
You coming? Or are you gonna stare at that wall forever?
He forced a grin, though it felt thin on his lips.
Just thinking.
He said, his voice quieter than he meant.
About what? The dragons?
She teased, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Her gnarled hands trembled slightly, betraying her age despite the village's eternal youth. As they stepped into the courtyard, the air was crisp, with the scent of pine, and the faint acrid tang of distant smoke. Kale's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the cliffs stood like silent giants, the caves hidden in their shadows. Tomorrow, the dragons would come. Tomorrow, someone would have to choose tribute or trial.